Okay. So have you ever wished you could just like snap your fingers and make a bad habit disappear?
Oh, all the time.
Right. Like I wish it were that easy.
Absolutely.
Well, the article we're going to deep dive into today claims that breaking bad habits is,
Wait, really?
yeah,
Like for real?
it says it's easy, actually.
Hmm. Interesting.
I know, right?
I'm a little skeptical, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to find out if this guy's onto something.
Okay, so what's the article called?
It's called Breaking Bad Habits is Easy, actually.
Easy, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a bold statement.
It is, right.
Yeah, I'm intrigued.
And it's by Richmond Doncor.
Richmond Doncor. Okay, I've heard that name.
Yeah, he's written a lot about this stuff.
Yeah. All right, I'm ready to dive in.
Okay, so Doncor starts off by talking about this thing called the habit loop.
The habit loop.
Yeah, have you heard of that?
Maybe vaguely remind me.
Yeah, so it's basically like the engine that drives those automatic behaviors that we're trying to break.
Okay, so it's like those things we do without even thinking about it,
Exactly.
like brushing our teeth or scrolling through our phones.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, got
So
it.
he breaks it down into three parts.
3 parts.
Yeah.
Okay.
The cue,
Yeah.
the routine,
Routine.
and the reward.
Reward.
So it's like a cycle that
Yes.
keeps repeating itself.
Okay, so like a loop.
Exactly. That's why it's called the habit loop.
Ah, I see, I see.
Yeah.
So the cue triggers the routine, which then leads to a reward, and then it just keeps going.
Right. And because we get that reward, our brains are wired to keep coming back for more,
Okay, that makes sense.
even if it's a habit we want to change.
Oh, I see. So even if it's bad for us, we still crave that reward.
Exactly.
So that's why it's so hard to break bad habits.
Yeah, but Doncor's approach to this is kind of different.
Different how?
He doesn't just tell us to stop the bad habit.
Okay.
He says we need to replace the routine with something positive.
Replace the routine.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm listening.
He calls it habit swapping.
Habit swapping. I like that.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to just stop doing something and replace it with something else.
Exactly.
Okay, so like instead of snacking while watching TV, I could replace that with like, I don't know, doing some stretches or something.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm still getting a reward, but it's a healthier one.
Right. And you're tricking your brain into associating that cue.
The TV turning on.
Yeah, with a new, healthier reward.
The stretches.
Yeah.
I like it.
So Doncor argues that by understanding this habit loop, breaking bad habits actually becomes easier.
Easier, actually.
It
It says
is.
so.
Okay, well, I'm all ears. What are these steps?
All right, so he lays out 3 key steps.
3 steps.
Yeah.
All right, lay them on me.
First, you have to identify the habit's trigger.
Identify the trigger.
Yeah.
So it's not just knowing what the bad habit is, but like why we do it.
Right, so like understanding the root cause.
Exactly.
I can dig it.
Yeah, so Doncor really emphasizes becoming a detective of your own behavior.
Okay, so we got to like investigate our own habits.
Yeah, like what time of day does the bad habit tend to happen? Where are you? Who are you with? What are you feeling?
So we can kind of see the pattern.
Exactly.
All right, I like it's like putting a puzzle together.
Right. It's like shining a spotlight on those hidden triggers that are driving our actions.
So step 1.
Yep.
What's next?
All right. So step 2 is replacing the routine.
Which we already talked about.
Right. But Doncor stresses choosing a positive behavior that's not only enjoyable, but also sustainable.
Sustainable, right? Like it's got to be something we can stick with.
Exactly. Not just a quick fix.
It's got to fit into our lives.
Yeah, like what's something you can realistically commit to?
Okay, so like finding a workout routine that's actually fun.
Right. Not one that feels like a chore.
I like that analogy.
It's about finding that sweet spot where enjoyment and sustainability meet.
Okay, got it. So identify the trigger, replace the routine.
And the final piece of the puzzle.
Hit me with it.
Adjusting your environment to support your new habits.
Adjusting your environment.
Yeah.
So like changing things up around us.
Exactly.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about next time.
Ooh, a cliffhanger.
You have to wait and see.
All right, I'm hooked. I can't wait to hear more about this.
Awesome. Well, we'll dive into all that next time. But for now, what do you think about all this so far?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. It's
Yeah.
making me think about my own habits in a new way, that's for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think I can already see how this habit loop thing plays out in my own life.
Yeah.
Yeah, like with my phone, for example.
Ooh, tell me more.
I'm constantly checking it.
Oh, yeah. See.
And I know it's not good for me, but I just can't seem to stop.
Right.
But now I'm thinking maybe if I understand the cue, like what's triggering me to check my phone,
Yeah,
I can start to change the routine.
exactly. This is powerful stuff.
It is, right?
Yeah, I'm excited to see where this goes. Me too. So what about you, listener? Are you starting to see your own bad habits in a new light?
Yeah, can you identify those cues and routines and rewards that are driving your behavior?
And can you picture yourself successfully swapping out those old routines for new, positive ones?
We're going to explore all of this and more as we continue our deep dive, so stay with us.
We'll be right back.
Okay, so we've got these 3 steps.
Yeah, identify, replace,
Yeah.
adjust.
Right?
Right.
Sounds simple enough, right?
Well, in theory,
In theory, yeah.
but we all know it's not that easy in practice.
Oh, absolutely not.
I mean, if it were, everyone would have perfect habits.
Right, we'd all be superstars.
Exactly.
So what are some of those roadblocks we hit when we try to break a bad habit?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is temptation.
Oh, yeah, temptation for sure.
It's like that little voice in your head.
Oh, I know that voice.
Yeah, it whispers things like,
Just one more.
yeah, just one more cookie, or just one more episode.
Or just 5 more minutes of scrolling.
And before you know it, you've fallen completely off track.
Right, and you're like, well, I already messed up, so I might as well just give up.
Ugh, yeah, I hate that feeling.
But Donkor has some interesting ideas about how to combat temptation.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, one thing he suggests is to shift your focus.
Shift your focus.
Yeah, from the immediate gratification to the long-term benefit.
Oh, so instead of thinking about how good that cookie tastes right now,
Right.
you think about how good you'll feel when you've reached your goal weight.
Exactly.
That's interesting.
And he also talks about the power of visualization.
Visualization.
Yeah, like picturing yourself achieving your goal and really feeling those positive emotions.
So it's like giving yourself a pep talk.
Exactly. You're reminding yourself why you're doing this in the first place.
Okay, I can see how that would be helpful.
It's like a mental rehearsal.
Right.
You're preparing yourself for success.
Well, what about when those cravings are so strong
Yeah.
that willpower alone just isn't enough?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
Like sometimes it feels like my brain is hijacked.
I know exactly what you mean.
Gonkor mentioned something about breathing exercises, right?
Yes, he does.
Tell me about that.
Well, he talks about the power of deep conscious breathing
Okay.
as a way to regain control in those moments of intense temptation.
So like when you feel that urge rising up,
Right.
you just stop and take a few deep breaths?
Exactly.
That's simple, but I can see how it would be effective.
It's like hitting the pause button on autopilot.
Yeah, you're giving yourself a chance to make a conscious choice
Exactly.
instead of just reacting.
Right.
I like it.
And it's a technique we can use anytime, anywhere.
Okay, so that's for dealing with temptation. But even with all these strategies, there will be times when we slip up.
Oh, absolutely.
No one's perfect.
No one's perfect.
So how do we deal with those setbacks without getting discouraged?
That's a great question.
Because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you have one bad day and they feel like they've failed.
And then they just give up.
Right. But Donkor emphasizes that we need to be kind to ourselves.
Self-compassion.
Yeah, exactly.
We need to remember that habit change is a journey, not a destination.
It's not about perfection. It's about progress.
Exactly.
And to track that progress, Donkor suggests keeping tabs on our journey, right?
He does.
Like keeping a journal or using a habit tracking app or something.
Yeah, he offers several different approaches.
Okay, so find a method that works for you
Exactly.
and stick with it.
And the key here is to find something that helps you stay motivated.
I think what's cool about tracking is that it gives you a visual representation of your efforts.
It's tangible.
Yeah, you can see how far you've come, which can be really inspiring on those days when you're feeling discouraged.
It's a reminder that you're making progress, even if it feels slow at times.
I love that.
Speaking of progress, remember that snowball effect we discussed earlier?
Ooh, yeah, the snowball effect.
Donkor argues that this is one of the most rewarding aspects of breaking bad habits.
Okay, remind me what that is again.
It's the idea that one positive change can trigger a cascade of positive changes in other areas of your life.
Oh, right, like a chain reaction of awesomeness.
Exactly.
Okay, so like if you start going to bed earlier, you'll not only get more sleep, but you might also find that you have more energy throughout the day. You're more focused at work, and you're even more patient with your loved ones.
Yeah, it's like a ripple effect.
I love that.
And this brings us to a crucial point that Donkor emphasizes throughout the article,
Okay, which is
the power of belief.
the power of belief.
Yes.
Okay, tell me more about this.
Well, Donkor argues that our mindset plays a huge role in our ability to change.
So if we believe we can break a bad habit,
Uh-huh.
we're more likely to succeed.
Exactly.
Our thoughts shape our actions.
Precisely.
Okay, so it's all about cultivating that positive attitude.
Yes, and trusting in the process.
I like it.
So before we move on, I want to pose a question to you, the listener.
Okay, hit us with it.
Think about a bad habit you're currently trying to break. What's one challenge you're facing that we've discussed today?
Is it temptation, self-criticism, lack of motivation?
Take a moment to reflect on what's holding you back.
And how you might apply some of the strategies we've covered to overcome that hurdle.
We're going to explore this more as we continue our deep dive.
So stick with us. Okay, so we've explored Doncourt's ideas.
The habit loop, the 3 steps.
Right, and all the challenges that pop up along the way.
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It is. But as we wrap up our deep dive into breaking bad habits is easy, actually.
Catchy title, right?
It is. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Let's try to really nail down some concrete takeaway.
Is it actionable, right?
Exactly. Stuff you can actually use start right now.
Love it. Okay, so where do we start?
Well, I think it all goes back to that habit loop.
The cue, routine, reward.
Yeah, really owning that concept.
I think that's key.
It's like step 0.
Right, like before you even start trying to change anything.
You got to understand the mechanics of the habit itself.
Yeah, and I think taking some time to actually map it out can be really helpful.
Totally. Even right now while you're listening.
Yeah, think about a habit you want to change.
And try to identify those 3 elements.
What triggers it?
What's the routine you go through?
And what's the reward that's keeping you hooked?
It's like having a blueprint.
I like that analogy.
Right. You wouldn't start building a house without a blueprint.
No way.
And breaking a bad habit is no different.
Okay, so blueprint first.
Yep. Then Doncourt's 3 steps.
Identify, replace, adjust.
Exactly. So let's talk about those as actionable advice for real this time.
Okay, so step 1, identify the trigger.
Become a habit detective.
Put on your Sherlock Holmes hat.
I love it.
Right, we got to investigate those patterns.
When does the habit tend to happen?
Where are you?
Who are you with?
How are you feeling?
It's all connected.
It is, and the more specific you can be about those triggers, the better.
Right, if you notice you always reach for sugary snacks when you're stressed.
Yeah, classic stress eating.
Right.
Been there.
So instead of just trying to resist the snacks.
You got to find healthier ways to manage the stress.
Exactly.
Address the root cause.
I like it.
Okay, so once you've identified those triggers, then it's time for step 2.
Replace the routine.
With something positive and sustainable,
Find that sweet spot we talked about.
where enjoyment and practicality meet.
Yeah, get creative with this step.
Brainstorm a list of activities
That bring you joy.
that make you feel energized.
Or that align with your values.
Right, and remember, it doesn't have to be a huge change.
Small changes can make a big difference.
Totally, instead of hitting that snooze button 5 times every morning.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that.
Me too, but what if you replace that with getting up and doing 5 minutes of stretching?
Or instead of scrolling through social media before bed, you could read a few pages of a book.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Small changes, big impact.
Okay, and then to really lock in those new habits, we got to adjust the environment.
Step 3.
This is where I get to play interior designer.
Oh, I love this part.
Me too. It's fun.
So what kind of adjustments are we talking about?
Well, think about those little changes that make those positive choices easier.
And those tempting triggers harder to reach.
Right, so maybe you rearrange your workspace.
Ooh, yeah. Feng shui for habits.
I like
So
it.
you're not facing distractions.
Exactly. Or maybe you create a designated relaxation corner in your home.
A tech-free zone.
Yes, where you can just unwind without your phone or laptop.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Right.
I need that in my life.
We all do. But let's be real for a sec.
Okay, getting real.
Even with the best environment, even with the perfect routine.
We're going to mess up sometimes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We're human.
Exactly. So that's where self-compassion comes in.
Being kind to ourselves.
Yeah, remembering that this is a journey
Not a destination.
and that setbacks are normal.
They're part of the process.
They are.
So celebrate those small wins.
Yes, celebrate all the wins.
Practice kindness towards yourself when you stumble.
And find a supportive community or a friend to cheer you on.
Accountability buddies.
Yes, love that.
And don't forget about those breathing exercises.
Oh yeah, those are clutch in those moments of intense temptation.
Like a secret weapon.
You really are.
And remember, tracking your progress can be super helpful.
It's a visual reminder that you're moving in the right direction.
even if it's baby steps.
Exactly. Progress isn't always linear.
There will be ups and downs.
But if you zoom out and look at the big picture,
You'll see that you're making progress.
and then don't forget about that snowball effect.
Oh, yeah, that chain reaction of awesomeness.
One positive change leads to another and another.
It's like magic.
It really is. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
This has been fun.
it has. I always love chatting with you about this stuff.
I too. It's fascinating.
So we want to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, lay it on us.
Remember that habit you identified at the beginning.
Yeah, the one you mapped out.
What's one small, positive step you can take today to move closer to breaking it?
Maybe it's just becoming more aware of those triggers.
Or identifying a healthy replacement behavior.
Or maybe it's reaching out to a friend for support.
Whatever it is, just take that first step.
Because every journey starts with a single step.
And every step, no matter how small,
Brings you closer to your goal.
we believe in you, listener.
We do.
And we can't wait to see the amazing transformations you create in your life.
Keep diving deep and keep believing in your power to change.
Because even those deeply ingrained habits can be shifted step by step.
Until they're no longer holding you back.
That's it for this deep dive. See you next time.